Did you know that many American Chinese restaurants are closing for good despite many people wanting more?
Story time about how I opened the restaurant and had to close just 3 months later during the pandemic.
A question I keep seeing asked in Facebook groups, in comments, on posts, etc. is why are these vegan restaurants closing?
Restaurants are closing left and right across the country, and a lot of people keep blaming the workers, saying they're not working hard enough. But the truth is actually the complete opposite because restaurant employees are putting in long hours, covering extra stations, taking extra shifts, and doing everything they can just to keep the place running while the real problem comes from a mix of financial pressure, shrinking customer spending, and the growing number of people who simply aren't paying their bills, which throws the entire system off balance. Since when customers can't afford to eat out like they used to, restaurants end up dealing with inconsistent sales and unpaid tabs that add up over time and create a cycle where businesses can't keep up with costs, so they cut staff, which then makes the remaining workers do even more with fewer resources. And at the same time, restaurants are built on niches, whether it's a unique menu style, cultural flavor, or a specific vibe. But when people cut back their spending, those niche audiences disappear first, leaving places that relied on a loyal but smaller customer base struggling to survive, as rent, food prices, equipment, maintenance, and utilities continue rising with no slowdown in sight. And add in the competition from delivery apps draining profit margins, the higher cost of ingredients from inflation, and the wave of new places opening and closing constantly, and you end up with a perfect storm that has nothing to do with workers being lazy and everything to do with economic strain, hitting both sides of the equation so hard that restaurants are just trying to breathe as they balance low sales, tight budgets, and a customer base that's spending less every month while still expecting everything to stay the same, even though the industry is being stretched thinner than ever before. And in the end, the reason restaurants are closing comes down to a multitude of factors that show how fragile the entire system really is. Check out some of these videos.
Hello, we're closed until 4:30. This is your staff.
Your sign says you're open 24 hours.
Correct, but when I have no staff, I don't have anybody to make the food.
You can't make any food?
No, sir.
Would you like me to come in and help you?
No, thank you.
You know, I have to go to work now, and I don't have any food. When I go to work, they expect me to work. This is intolerable.
No, I am working. We're cleaning the store. It's just me. I'm cleaning the whole store by myself.
America. Nobody wants to work. Unbelievable.
Did you know that many American Chinese restaurants are closing for good despite many people wanting more? And as you can see behind me, the share of restaurants in major cities that are Chinese are disappearing pretty fast. And this is pretty different from other type of restaurants like Korean or Indian, which stays pretty flat or increasing slowly. And this change is actually a good thing for most Chinese restaurant owners. And this is because opening a Chinese restaurant is a brutal business that requires you to be there 7 days a week. And it also requires you to work up to 100 hours every single week and not take any holidays, but earn significantly less compared to most Americans. And as somebody who had parents who worked at Chinese restaurants, you couldn't really see them a lot. In addition to this, they also didn't have good coverage for insurance, dental, or other care. And this made life really hard for those who owned Chinese restaurants or worked in them. And as a result, most of these restaurants simply closed after the parents retired. And their kids often didn't take over the business, instead took more traditional jobs instead. For example, they went into fields like computer science, dentistry, or consulting. And this meant that many of these classic as well as iconic restaurants simply closed down. And like I mentioned earlier, this might not be a bad thing at all, since it meant that these kids have better opportunities and simply more options.
Story time about how I opened the restaurant and had to close just 3 months later during the pandemic. So boom, it is 2019 and at the time I was working at Morgan Stanley, so I was in wealth management and I had the crazy idea to open a restaurant. Now, my mom had owned a restaurant for over 10 years at that point in time, so I was following in her footsteps and I called myself opening a modern version of her restaurant because she had an African restaurant for all of these years. Now, I had worked in her restaurant basically my whole life, but like most African and Caribbean restaurants, they were operating in the most jaga jaga way possible, right? No organization, no bookkeeping, no financials, nothing, just vibes. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna open my own version and it's going to be better organized and everything. December 2019, I sign a lease and begin the construction process to open this restaurant. I found a turnkey restaurant that was basically abandoned in Newark, New Jersey. And I'm like, oh, okay, this was going to be an easy flip. This is one of the things I teach a lot of my small business clients now. Whatever money you think you need to get started, you need to double and triple it, right? I made janky financial projections and I took out a personal loan in my name to fund the endeavor. Very stupid of me, but I'm like, I have to open this restaurant, whatever. So I went ahead, took out the personal loan and went forward with opening the business. I found a contractor that told me it would take 2 weeks to just flip the place over. It ended up taking about a month. Fast forward, we finally get the place up to par, ready to go. I opened January 11th of 2020. Now, we all know what happened in March. The pandemic happened and I was not prepared for any of it, right? I was shook to my core and I ended up closing temporarily to just kind of figure out everything and figure out how the pandemic was going to go. During the time that I was actually open, I was not making any money at all. And that's why starting a business with working capital is actually really, really important, because the $30,000 that I had spent towards, or that I've taken out in the form of a personal loan, all went towards construction. I had no other working capital to keep the business afloat on a day-to-day basis. So I started having to use credit cards. It was so bad. We were not getting any traction at all. It would be some days I would make $50 a day and I'd have staff there. I had everyone going and I'd have to pay more to have my staff there than I would have made for the entire day. But fast forward to March when we ultimately closed. I was home. I was trying to do things to keep the business relevant. I was doing like cooking classes on Instagram and all of those things. It just wasn't working. No one was interested in my African food. I thought I was doing something, but I was not doing anything at all. It was at the time where my then boyfriend, now husband, was like, girl, you cannot keep this going. You need to let it go. And I sat down, I did the math correctly this time in terms of how much could I actually expect to make over the next 6 to 9 months. And would that be enough for me to break even in terms of all the money that I put in to open, plus what I was spending just on a day-to-day basis to actually keep myself afloat? And that math, those projections said, girl, let it go. And that's exactly what I did, right? I tried to like reopen a little bit in May, was open for like 2 weeks and realized it was not going to work. And I shut it down. I surely did. And that was like my biggest lesson. It's really scary for entrepreneurs to sometimes let their businesses go, but the math is never going to lie to you. My math did not lie to me. That spreadsheet said, girl, let it go. And I let it go. Though a lot of people might look at that as like a failure, like, oh, you opened and closed the business in 4 months. To me, it led me to where I am today, right? I live a significantly more comfortable life. I do not have to wake up and be in customers' faces. I don't have to be on my feet all day, mopping up, cleaning. And it led me to the small business world that I'm in now, which I really appreciate because I get to help businesses not make the same mistakes that I made. And that is a lot more rewarding and fulfilling than being on my feet all day. So yeah, I will answer any questions y'all have about entrepreneurship, getting started, actually funding your business in a way that makes sense, and also just knowing when to let go when it's not doing what you think it should be doing.
Haven't noticed a ton of vegan restaurants have been closing the past year or two. And a question I keep seeing asked in Facebook groups, in comments, on posts, etc. is, why are these vegan restaurants closing? And there are a few reasons. If you don't know me, my name is Diana. I run Vegans Baby, and I've been working in the restaurant industry as a consultant for marketing, PR, social media since 2007. A lot of things are at play here when it comes to why vegan restaurants are closing. Obviously, the economy sucks right now. I'm not going out to spend money on meals as much, and a lot of people aren't doing that. But aside from that, there are a couple reasons why vegan restaurants have been closing. One is the fact that these vegan restaurants aren't doing anything different. And so when you're in a market with 15 or 20 or 30 or more vegan restaurants and you're all serving the same thing, whoever's going to be the best at it is going to be the one where people are going. Not just that, but whoever has the best branding, the best marketing, the best photos, the best atmosphere, that's where people are going to go. So if you're coming into a market and you're going to offer the same food as other vegan restaurants, you better be the best in your genre. Otherwise, you're not going to succeed. Another reason a lot of vegan restaurants are failing is because they don't have the appropriate people running things. So obviously, like if you've never run a restaurant before and you decide to get into running a vegan restaurant, there is a huge learning curve. But not just that, you have to be able to do all the other things that a brand or business does, which have great branding. You want to be able to create an atmosphere that people want to go to. We live in such a photographic, video-focused society right now. Owners a lot of times think that because they have a vegan restaurant, they're going to succeed, that the vegans will come. But your vegan market is this, and the rest of your market is out here. And so if you're only attracting this, and you think that this is what's going to sustain you, it's not accurate. You need to be able to be creating food that is for everybody and just so happens to be vegan. So another reason people aren't coming to your restaurant is because probably of your marketing and your social media. You are not creating an aesthetic. If your dishes don't look pretty, today's society is very, very, very visual. So if we're going to look on Yelp or Instagram or TikTok or any platform, we want to see what the food looks like because we want to be able to imagine ourselves enjoying it. And if your food doesn't look enjoyable, if it doesn't look delicious, if it doesn't look like you just want to reach in and grab it from that page, you're not going to get people in your restaurant. And that's a very big deal. The vibe of your restaurant is really important. If you have a restaurant that's dated looking, if you haven't put in anything, make it look appealing and attractive, it's going to be a lot harder to get people in the door because people want an escape. When they're going out and they're spending money, they want an experience that makes them feel something. And if you're creating an experience that's dull, that's drab, that isn't giving them anything they want, then why are they going to come? Let's talk about your marketing. How are you getting people in the door? Do you have an email list? Are you capitalizing on it? Are you on social media, and are you active on social media? Or are you posting once a month a blurry photo of food that looks like dog shit? And I don't mean that meanly, but I've seen so many restaurants that post the worst photos, or they're super edited. Do not put filters on your food photos. You want bright, vibrant photos of your food. Don't filter them. Social media should not be an afterthought. Your marketing should not be an afterthought. It should be a part of your opening plan. Before you open your restaurant, you should have a strong brand. You should have created an atmosphere in your restaurant that you think people will want to come to, that's inviting. You need to have a great library of photos and videos for your social media, for the review sites, for all of those things. You need to have a marketing plan in place, a customer loyalty program if you want that. You need to decide if you want to be on the apps. There's so many things that go into opening a restaurant besides just vegan people coming in. The most important thing is if your food sucks, if your customer service sucks, no one is going to care that you're a vegan restaurant. I'm not going to spend my money on food that doesn't taste good or that makes me feel crappy. And I'm certainly not going to come into a restaurant where your staff are rude. So that's just a few of the reasons why vegan restaurants have not been succeeding. Should I do one next on ideas for vegan restaurants to grow? Let me know. And if you have any other thoughts, drop them below.